Hello. Hello. I'm just gonna check my audio real quick. Give me 1 second because I don't know where it's coming from. Just want to make sure it's the right one. Uno momento. Let Nope, it's not. I don't think it's coming from my mic. I still don't think it is. Let me see. Sorry. It's the only way I can check it. I don't know. It seems to be okay though. Hey, Christina. Hey, Mandy, Bestie, and Liv, and Pumpkin. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I don't know. It'll be fine. I can hear it. So, regardless if it's coming through my mic or my camera, I guess it doesn't really matter. Hello, the last 24. Hi, Carol. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Did you guys go anywhere, do anything? Anybody travel? All right, let me exit out of this. I have a couple things today that I wanted to just really go over. Some of them are quick, and then I have a couple things that might take a little bit. Hey, Tikkun. We see you, Tikkun. We see you. Let's see. Thank you, Bianca. That's so sweet. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. Hey, Tattoo Gal. That's so funny, Bunny, because when I just saw that Bianca did a gifted and then you got it, my first thought was, I totally thought she had one already. That's okay. You're here now. All right. I found something interesting that I haven't heard anybody say anything about yet. I think it's been here for a minute though. Let me see if I can. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Christina, you cooked for you and your baby girl. Oh, her 13th birthday. Aw, when is it, Christina? When is her actual birthday? You have to tell her we all said happy birthday. Okay, so on this screen here, it's handwritten and kind of small anyways, but I was reading this when I was looking for something else, and I noticed it said in Xana's room that it was on the wall, and I'll show you the picture again in 1 second. But there were irregular shaped blood stains, which looked like a bloody object touched the wall. And then it says, 1 second. I don't know how I can be runny and stuffy at the same time. Then it says, also fine lines through the blood, which could have been caused by bloody hair moving against the wall. Now, this is in Xana's room, and it's lower. Let me share that picture real quick. So it says on this picture, where you see all this right here, that, in between mark on the wall and then that drip on the baseboard, apparently somewhere in there, one of these is from an object touching the wall, and another one has bloody hair running through the blood mark on the wall. So obviously, I'm just assuming that it's Xana since it's in her room. So, is all this red fluid from Xana? And if so, does that mean she was moved? Because she would have already been on the ground in this area. If her hair is bloody and hitting against the wall, is it because she's down over here and she's fighting? Or was she moved post mortem? I haven't seen I don't have a humidifier. I should probably get one. I used to have a small one, Carol, but I don't know what happened to it. Yeah, I mean, it could be a different wall for sure that they're talking about because of course, they're not specific, right? Um, but the other stains they're talking about are these stains that are on the wall, and it's in the same paragraph. So I just kind of figured and assumed that they were talking about over in this area. It says fine lines, and obviously this is taken from a distance with a cell phone. Who knows what year that cell phone is and how good of a picture it's going to take. Obviously when you zoom in on these pictures, it just gets more blurry. So it's not a great picture anyways. I wouldn't expect to be able to see it the way they described it as being fine lines. But apparently one of these is from an object, which is interesting to me because if the only object they know of in this case is the K bar, then wou wouldn't they compare that to this blood stain? Like, there was just not enough work in this case. They didn't put any work, like actual investigation and investigating into this case. But apparently in this area somewhere next to the bed on the wall is bloody, hair pattern on the wall. So I would assume it would have to be Xana, that it wouldn't be Ethan's hair. And I say Xana, obviously her hair is long. But that makes me think then this is her blood on the floor and the nightstand. And she's possibly fighting. But then I would think that with that loss of blood right there, that's where she would end up. So um either she was fighting and somehow got into the middle of the floor, or this is where she was unalived and then she was moved, and possibly the blood stain from whatever weapon or object got on the wall could have been from moving her body. They don't obviously specify whose blood it is, which I'm really curious to know whose blood is all of this, because it sounds like there's an actual possibility that it could be Kaylee's if we're going to take Hunter's word that he never went upstairs. Well, then how did you get Kaylee's blood on your hands? They also say in one of the reports that the blood that was on that half wall, they think that it was possibly diluted, which is strange. So, did that get there during the cleanup then? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, passed out. It drives me nuts because in my mind, when I think of the 911 call actually, and they say, "We tried to get her up, but she won't get up. We don't know what's wrong. We don't know why." Well, that means you would have had to see her to know to call 911, right? I don't know. Yeah, but definitely not passed out. Definitely not passed out. But yeah, Pav actually did oops. Yes, I was just gonna say that, Christina. Pav did a good video today, um, explaining how it's all Xana's blood. That's Well, he did a video today and told us that it was all Xana's blood, basically from the doorway down the hall. The little bits of blood that were on the short wall are Xana's. But what I find interesting, and it goes all the way to the bar cart in the next to the flimsy pong table. That's where Xana's blood travels either to or from. Do you guys remember in the very beginning of this case? Very possible, Latitude, diluted from cleaning solution. That's very possible. Why do we have diluted blood? And then we also have a blood shoe print that's cleaned up. They didn't even find the shoe print until the second go around of using Amido Black. So yeah, you could be right on with it being from cleaning. So with Pav's video earlier today, he mentioned how that all the blood from basically Xana's door forward out of the room on that short wall, all those, I think there's either 4 or 5 total blood spots, they're all Xana's. Do you guys remember in the very beginning of this case when they told us they knew Xana encountered a perpetrator on the 3rd floor stairs because that's where her blood evidence shows where it started with her? I don't see that in here, and I could have just missed it, but I don't see that in here. Her blood only goes to the bar cart. But my question is that from her coming out and encountering somebody, or is that just dripping from whatever weapon was used on Xana? Because if it's on the 3rd floor or going toward, up the stairs on to the 3rd floor, I would almost think it's more of like a second perpetrator having blood drip off the weapon, going up to the 3rd floor to either help or whatever. And that's maybe where the different weapons used on Kaylee happened. So I think for the most part, at this point, I think that they were basically unalived at the same time. Obviously, I know nothing. So, hey, Witchy. Hey, Jeff. Yes, Pav did show the receipts. Yes, he did. He told us, where we could find it, which report number, what it says, and then where it's located in the house. So, yeah, that was good. It was good to see the visual that he made with the blood droplets. But yeah, he did have receipts on this one. So, yeah, I just think it's strange that we have red fluid pattern from bloody hair on this wall right here next to the bed, but it's never talked about. And then just last week, we went over this void on the floor, which I think was a human there. So I'm wondering, did the bloody hair pattern get on the wall from fighting or after, being moved maybe? I'm not sure. I mean, to me on this nightstand, it looks like somebody was trying to stand back up. Like they were on the floor and they tried standing back up. I don't know. Strange. Okay. Let's see. 1 second. Let me get that back up. I have another question or statement or comment, but I gotta share a different page. Let me find it. Uno momento. I just had it. I just had it, and then I started flipping through it. Let's see. No, not there. 1 second, guys. Doobie doobie doo. Nope, not there. I'm just trying to find the picture of the glove. I want to show you where they took samples of or swabs on the glove that they found outside. Come on. Too many pages that are all freaking redacted. Ay, ay, ay. Where'd it go? So here it is. So on the glove that they found outside, okay, there we go. That works. This is the glove they found outside. And this little green mark, the square or rectangle, is where they swabbed. And then this little purple one down below it is where they swabbed on this glove. And then they swabbed the right ring finger on the right hand of this glove. And I thought they swabbed yeah, they did. Area swabbed was the green part of this glove. My question is, they swabbed what, 4 places on this glove? I don't see anything that says they did any swab on the inside of the glove for skin cells. I don't see that anywhere. Hey, what happened? Where'd it go? My screen disappeared. Yeah, so I don't see it on the glove that they actually swabbed the inside though, which is very, very strange to me. I think my picture went off. I can't see it. So yeah, I just wanted to show you where they swabbed on this glove and the fact that they did not swab the inside for skin cells. I mean, pretty deliberate thing. Why wouldn't you? Number one, I would say that would be the first place I would try and get DNA from is inside the glove. It's not surprising that they didn't, and it's probably purposeful. Kind of like, did anybody see Sherlock's post from earlier? He was like, uh the what was he talking about? The sorry, my brain just went blank. Oh, the jacket. Dylan's pink and green jacket and how they purposefully used Blue Star on the jacket and just like doused the whole jacket. And that was right as Ann Taylor was asking for those pieces of evidence. Ann Taylor asked for the jacket and her nightstand, Dylan's nightstand and jacket. And they went and picked it up. And when they brought it back, instead of giving it to Ann Taylor, they poured Blue Star all over it, which is not the chemical you use. No, it was Talbot who did it. Nobody told him to do that. He just took it upon himself to ruin the jacket, and it seems purposeful. Just like, why wouldn't you test the inside of a glove? Of course they wouldn't, right? Because it wouldn't match their narrative. I'm super runny. Blank brain. What in the world? All right, now it says that ay, ay, ay. It froze. It froze on me, guys. Uh-oh. Oh my goodness. This is ridiculous. There we go. Okay. Sorry, guys, it froze on me. I'm not sure what happened, but I couldn't move the chat anywhere. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys where it was swabbed and the fact they did not ever swab the inside of the glove that we all know had DNA on it. Blood DNA. What in the world? There we go. Goodness. Okay. I can get rid of this picture. I can get rid of this. Real quick, I want to play an interview with Steve Gonsalves. You guys might have seen it. It's not brand new. It's about a week old. 1 second. I hear that Brian Koberger is complaining about bananas in jail. And while everybody makes fun of him, I suppose I might find little petty stuff to complain about if I was locked up for something I possibly didn't do or wasn't the only one there. I would probably try and make everybody's life really inconvenient by making stupid complaints, especially about bananas, which I find just very funny.
Information every week or two. I'm just wondering how you're processing all of it.
Hi, you think it's over and then something comes out, yeah, you hear about, your phone starts blowing up and all this new information comes out and you just kind of start searching just like everyone else. And it's shocking every time because you think that it's over, but it just keeps on hitting you.
And Olivia, no one knows the shoes you're walking in, right? No one can ever understand what you guys are going through. Everybody processes differently too. Do you find yourself immediately wanting to know what the latest, ungagged information is? Or and you've got 4 children, you're a busy, busy woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get the information as fast as I can. The day that the gag order was lifted, we asked if we could have everything that we could have up front so that we could go through it on our own time, so that we could have time to process that.
Yes, Brian's bananas. I don't know why I find that so funny that he is literally in there. Like I picture myself really like being in his shoes, trying to like kind of feel it out what it would be like. And I don't know, I just see him in there like just pissed off and just, moping and complaining in his own brain, and then finally gets up the nerve like, I need to say something now, and then writes a report or tells on somebody because he's not receiving good bananas. I don't know why I find that so funny.
So yeah, I mean, we're on pins and needles just like everyone else, waiting for that next, drop of information.
What was the reason for them not giving you everything? Did they say they needed to redact it all first? Was there a logical reason?
I think it's mainly the redactions as well.
Sculla says, I just upgraded my video software to Google Banana 3. Oh my God. That's so funny.
Because the prosecutor's office isn't the custodian of many of these documents, right? They're actually owned by Moscow Police Department or the Idaho Police Department. And so the documents that they own, it's my understanding that they're actually held up with the court process, which is going through that very, very lengthy sealing, unsealing, redaction.
On a serious note, yes, Christina, he is being sexually harassed in there as well. I just find which is not funny, but I just find the banana thing extremely entertaining. Like if I received that kind of complaint from a prisoner, the bananas, that's what you're worried about? Funny stuff.
Action process. That's my understanding.
So as things, begin to drop out, this latest piece of information has sort of come out of nowhere, and it's that a Lifetime movie has been announced. They've hired an actor, and I think the working title is just the Idaho Murders, but it's one of the ripped from the headlines series. Steve, tell me your thoughts. I almost feel like it was inevitable that this was going to happen, but again, nobody walks in your shoes.
It's different, a little bit different because we're used to documentaries, but yeah, this is like a movie. And it's shocking to know that somebody feels the confident that they can just tell your story about your child and, Maddie, her best friend, the same people that, you interacted with every day, picking them up from school, taking them to parties and taking them to birthday parties and things. And to have somebody else just tell this story, it doesn't seem real. It seems like somebody's just reaching into your house and stealing your life and putting it on the screen.
As new information comes out about the actual case, there's this information about the dramatic version of the case. Lifetime plans to, drop the movie.
I'm so tired of hearing about this, honestly. Like, every person who's unalived somebody and the story was big in the news, there's been a movie made. I don't understand why they're focusing on that. The only thing I can come up with is because they weren't called and didn't have the control to tell them, yes, it's okay, or no, it's not, or they weren't asked to be a part of it. That's it.
And they're ripped from the headline series. They've even hired the lead actor. No one walks in your shoes again. And I'm just wondering what it's like for you to hear that news.
Yeah, it's really angering, honestly, from my side. My sisters they're not a headline, they're not a Lifetime movie. And I get incredibly frustrated at the scripted aspect of it, right? We've experienced this in real time, and it's very, very much far from something that is specifically made for an entertainment purpose. I think that's the part that's the hardest for me to get over.
Did they reach out to your family and ask for you to be consultants or part of the process?
Oh, absolutely not. No, we have not been. When you saw the article is when we saw the article. So we didn't have any inside information on that.
I guess the flip side of that is, would you have wanted to be, just to ensure as much accuracy in your sister's story as possible?
I personally don't want to be a part of anything that's strictly for an entertainment purpose. So
her whole victim impact thing was basically like for entertainment purposes. She wanted people to, get a kick out of the things that she was saying. She treated that like she was auditioning for a movie.
So while I would have appreciated them reaching out for what that stands for, I wouldn't have taken part in something that is a scripted, fictional, dramatic reenactment of our and my sister's real life.
Any chance you would consider legal action? Some people actually sue for life rights if they're not paid for life rights.
I think you want to take that, Olivia?
Yeah, I really don't know. Honestly, like, we're not, very sue happy people, and the benefit of that, I don't really know, because it's almost like whack-a-mole. Like you get one down and it,
Mandy says, but doesn't she have a public TikTok? Yep.
4 others pop up, and it's almost,
Which means she wants the world to see it. Like,
it's like, where's that line drawn? At this point, we've had how many documentaries, we've had how many books, we've had how many articles. So, while we don't agree with it, I don't know if it's something that we would ever, take legal action over.
Yeah. The other side of the coin is the true story details. You don't even know them all yet, and they keep dropping.
didn't she just say something like they're not sue happy? They don't just go around suing everybody. Okay, what about this new lawsuit? Although nothing's been filed yet, but there's big talks of this, super $1 million lawsuit that's like $477 bajillion. I can't wait to see if that actually ends up being a thing or not, so she can shove her foot in her mouth.
Like that video that I don't know why I found it so jaw-dropping when I saw the video of the killer hours after his crime, wandering about his day into Costco, out of Costco.
Listen to what Steve G says.
Into Albertsons, and I was immediately brought to you, and I wondered how you digested that. Steve, what was it like when you saw that?
Creepy to see that guy, the way he walks and moves. It's just unnatural to my eyes.
Exactly. He says it right out of his own face. The way Brian Kohlberger walks and moves looks unnatural. He's uncoordinated. And you want us to think that a person like that committed 4 unalivings in 3 minutes? Get out of here. Steve just said it himself. He looks uncoordinated.
I could see why a lot of girls could pick up on that vibe very quickly.
Thank you, on top X. Sheba Dog raises and lowers his index finger to get noticed. Thank you, on top.
Yeah, it's disturbing to know that that was just afterwards, and you want to analyze every action that he did before and after, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard to watch that.
Alivea, I think so many people on the outside of your story are so perplexed.
So they're sitting there saying like, oh, this, creeps me out because he, rubbed shoulders with a person in the grocery store and they didn't know there was this killer next to them. He does not look like he's really worried about DNA in his car or in his house. He's not, pacing back and forth trying to, think over his tracks and what he did and what he needs to cover up. He looks like he got up, got himself ready, and is doing Sunday things like getting groceries.
By it. And that doesn't even come close to what I imagine your family is feeling, that how confused you are by how someone could do this. And maybe that's why we're so voracious for every ounce of new detail that might lend us something. And I just wonder, are we getting any further with every little bit that's dropped, even the video, even being able to...
I mean, what does she need more detail of? It sounds like, she's searching for answers for something, but I thought you guys got your answer. I thought the person that you think did it is, in jail. So what are you hanging on to every piece of this and that for? I thought the person you wanted in jail is in jail. Shouldn't that be over for you then?
See him in action. Are we getting closer to understanding this monster?
I don't think that we're ever going to get closer to why, because I think that the why only makes sense in a psychopathic mind. So I don't want to understand.
No, because he doesn't have a why, which wouldn't make sense.
His why personally, because that would make me more like him. But as far as, that human need to, want to satisfy something in yourself that provides comfort, I get it. And personally, I think it's because of the gag order and how restrictive it was and how long lasting it was, that essentially they starved everyone out for information. So now every little piece that comes out is, nitpicked and analyzed and overanalyzed over and over and over, attempting to satisfy that starvation that we've all had for so long.
And yet it's not satisfying, at least not to me.
No, you can sit there and look at that Costco video, and I did, and the takeaway.
Witchy says, thank you, Witchy. Witchy says, and also not hiding his face under a COVID mask like they told us in the beginning. Do you guys remember when they told us that he was wearing gloves in the grocery store? That was huge when he first got arrested. That he had on literal gloves in the grocery store with a COVID mask on. It's all lies. Everybody, that's a guilter, thinks he did it, or mainstream media, they all want to, make it seem like all the things that we were told that we now know is a lie. They're still sticking with that too on other stuff. It drives me nuts. But yeah, they told us he came into this grocery store with gloves on and a COVID mask. Clearly, he didn't.
Way is what? Is it more answers? Is it more questions? Is it applicable? Is it not? Yeah, it's absolutely creepy.
I think I took away, yes, he's heartless. He has no compunction. He's just done this horrifying thing, and life is, let's get a coffee.
Witchy makes a good point too, because face masks were still being used by enough people in November of 2022 that it wouldn't call attention if he did wear one. So don't you think he would actually wear one to maybe cover his face, to cover his tracks, basically? He looks like he doesn't really have a care in the world, that maybe he just is bored and trying to find stuff to fill his time. But he wouldn't have had enough time to clean out his car the way that it was cleaned. And he didn't clean out the outside, we know for a fact, because pulling into the parking lot in this video for Costco, the outside of his car is dirty as crap. So what, you're just going to It's just not possible. He can't clean every nook and cranny of that car and be talking to his family on the phone and getting ready, taking a shower, getting himself all spruced up for whatever reason, driving to Costco. There's just not enough time. So don't you think if he did this, he would be cleaning out his car and trying to cover his tracks? He's not. But yeah, he could have gotten away with wearing a face mask and he didn't.
But I think, I feel like I already knew that. I just maybe need it reinforced because it can't possibly be true. Like, I guess, Steve, that I keep coming back to my original resolution to this can't possibly be true. Please tell me there's something else. And I don't know that I'm getting there either.
Yeah, when you see that person walking around and you know the actions that they've done, you want to tell yourself that you'd be able to identify them, that they wouldn't be able to blend in. They wouldn't look like just a normal guy in a grocery store sitting next to you. So when you see it, it just creeps you out and gives you this, okay, this person isn't behaving in a manner that I would expect anyone who just done that. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why we all look at that and say, this just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense, Steve, but we're saying it for the opposite reason. But no, it doesn't make sense. What I find interesting as well is when we read all of the Moscow documents and the interviews that they did, on every male, they checked their arms, neck, and hands for scratches. But Brian Koberger didn't have any either. We also know that there are 3 different unknown DNA that's mixed with victims' blood. So if Brian Koberger didn't cut himself anywhere, but yet there's blood that from a male that's mixed in with the victim's blood, then it can't be him. He didn't get cut. He's not bleeding from anywhere. So we also know the unknown samples of that blood, it ruled out Brian Koberger. So it couldn't be him.
We want to know we can identify the evil that walks among us. And when you look at that, you're absolutely right. I felt for the Costco greeter who brushed up against horror and didn't know it. I felt for the cashier who had no idea who was in front of them. I felt for the people who were just passing right by with bags full of groceries that they had no idea.
Well, if she watched the actual video, he didn't see a cashier, you idiot.
How close they came to this monster among our flock, Let me ask you about this new report that came out. And Alivea, maybe you can speak to this, that the deal was struck, the plea deal was agreed to by the killer just days after he learned that his sister was going to be on the prosecution's witness list. Did that surprise you? Did it give you insight to anything at all?
No, I don't really believe that causation is correlation there. I think that the plea deal was a long time coming. I think that probably what had more of an impact on the plea deal being taken was the fact that the alternate perpetrator argument was struck down. They wouldn't be able to take that into the courtroom. So that door closed. They didn't have any more to open up. Time was winding down. I think it had very, very little to do with his sister being on that prosecutor's list.
Hey, what do you think the prosecutors thought they were going to get from her?
There's been a long backstory of things that have been suggested that she, I think that there was people believe that she had seen him with a knife personally. I think that would have been something that would have came up.
Pumpkin says, I don't understand how the G's are okay with all of the roommates' bullcrap, not tested blood, lies, etc. How are they okay with it? I think, honestly, there is something eating at them deep down inside where they know that either Brian Koberger didn't do this or he didn't do it alone. Either that or they have never read a document in their life on this case, because there is no way you can read those documents and still believe that it's Brian Koberger when we have so much untested male DNA, but we know Brian Koberger was ruled out, ruled out from that DNA source. The one on the glove, in the house, everything.
And talking about the murder weapon, predating even moving out here would be very damning to their case. And I don't think they were able to ever give a replacement for what was missing. So the time was running out, and even having his family and all those people that probably didn't help to remind him that he was cooked, and the evidence was there, and he wasn't going to get out to be able to go recover any of those things. His time totally ran out to try to swap one for another.
Mark and Betty says, don't forget he wrapped himself in a shower curtain, and that's why there was no DNA in his car. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. The shower curtain that we see in the picture now, they had cropped it out before and told us there was no shower curtain there. But now the shower curtain shows in the background of Brian Koberger's thumbs up selfie. I mean, as much as Ashley Banfield uses that selfie that was altered, you would think she would know that the shower curtain is actually there. They just edited the picture. But yeah, supposedly Brian Koberger, now they're saying they were saying this before, because the shower curtain wasn't in the next day picture with the thumbs up, or the same day picture with the thumbs up, that he must have used the shower curtain to conceal blood, and it's buried with the weapon and blah, blah, blah.
Steve, I know there are so many people in law enforcement and who are involved, in this case, even in an ancillary way, who have so much love and respect for your family and care and concern for you all, and you in particular. Has anyone reached out?
Thumper says, but remember the DNA that was in the fridge, and the fridge magically just went out? Yep, I do remember that. My question is, with the Chapin's mom now teaming up with Othram, don't you think if you were a victim's mother and you knew that there was unknown male DNA in that house mixed with your child's blood on the wall, you're now teamed up with Othram? Why wouldn't you have them get the profile? They did it for Brian Koberger in a couple days? So why can't they build a profile off of the unknown male DNA and find out who it is? I mean, if that was my child and I was teamed up with the DNA experts, that's what I would be doing. I'm curious why they're not.
Out to you to tell you any information?
And also, the fridge going out is such a stupid thing because they had dry samples in there. They were already dry. The fridge going out doesn't do anything. Actually, it doesn't do anything to either of them unless it's out for a long period of time, like days or weeks, but not. I mean, think of other cases that are really, really old and finally solved because of DNA. But the DNA wasn't in a fridge for 30 years or 20 years. You know what I mean? If other cases can do it, this case can do it.
About how he's faring now, months after now that he's been locked away. Have you learned anything that it's hard to say could feel good, but at least might feel like some kind of justice?
Yeah, I have heard that he isn't doing so well in that prison system that he's in the block that he's at. He's very adamant that he has rights in there that need to be respected. And I think he's starting to learn that, you picked the Northwest, you picked Idaho, you picked a place where we don't spend a lot of money on people that we throw the key away on. So,
so I have a question, because we know that Steve Gonsalves has a brother that's in prison because he unalived somebody. Do they ever sit back and think, wow, I bet my brother's victim's family feel exactly like we do, except they didn't get hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations and new cars and everything else? Do they ever think about the victim of Steve Gonsalves' brother, Nathan Gonsalves, who unalived somebody? Do they ever think of that victim and their families? Or are they only worried about what happens to them?
you pick their state, now you got to live it. You don't do the crime if you can't do the time. And he's going to be doing the time. And I've been hearing a lot about how the amount of noise that he's making in there isn't doing him any favors.
And my thanks to Steve and Alivea Gonzalez. And my
Okie dokie. Let me get this off here. Yeah, I just found it interesting that what Steve said, basically agreeing technically with us, like, no, he just looks like a normal guy going into the grocery store. That's what we've been saying. Okay, I want to play Linden Beck's interview. I think everybody else has already played it, but he says something that I find interesting.
Hi, my name's Lawrence. Okay. What is your first name?
That's the
What's your middle initial? And what's your date?
2002.
And what's a good phone number?
Anonymous says the perp would have had cuts on him. You see nothing on the grocery cams. Well, not on the grocery cams as well, but I mean, there's obviously we have the selfie the next morning or the same day selfie from that morning. There's no cuts in there either. But they want to use it for other people like, oh, we interviewed him, but he didn't have cuts or scrapes or anything on his hands, his arms, or his neck. Well, neither did Brian Koberger. And there was red fluid from the victim mixed in with red fluid, or from the perpetrator mixed in with red fluid from the victims as well. So we know the perpetrator, or at least one of them, had a cut. Don't know why they don't test that, because I'm pretty sure that would give you all the information you need.
And what's a good address for you? What are you
Like
living right now?
here?
Yeah. Okay, is that a frat?
Yeah.
Which one's that? Sorry, I don't know any of that.
That's all right.
Stay inside most of the time. Okay. And I will apologize now for asking weird questions about sororities and fraternities, because I just never did that scene. So, what can you tell me? Did you go to party?
No, I slept through that.
Okay.
I was sleeping at the Whites with Joe. We crashed pretty early, and then we were up. We got back up around really early in the morning, like 2, 3.
What time did you guys crash, roughly?
8 maybe.
Okay.
And then
First, I want to say that Linden is, I believe, the only person who didn't change clothes from the 1122 to the police station. I believe he's the only person who did not change clothes in between. They were all allowed to leave, go home, change their clothes, and then come down to the police station. How wild is that in itself?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
We woke up around that time that
Hi, James.
that happened,
Okay.
and yeah.
What, help me, for somebody that doesn't know the layout of the sororities, where's the Whites compared to where
So-
Dylan and them live?
The Whites is like, let's say,
Right? Everybody's
what's that
thinking, imagine
that
that.
street? That So here's the Whites apartment, maybe.
Okay.
Like that's like the 2 apartment complexes,
Right.
And I was like up here, and the other house is like back here.
Can you access that off of a side road, or does it come through the parking lot?
You go like the parking lot. You go right here.
Okay.
You go walk through there.
Witchy says, and no clothing worn that day was ever collected and submitted for testing. None of it. Not on any single person, especially not the person they walk into holding a knife. Hunter.
Football field distance? What kind
Yeah,
of distance?
I'd say so.
Okay. And that's Joe's apartment?
Yeah, just apartment.
Gotcha. Okay.
The both are there.
Yeah, I always found that interesting too. Anonymous says Jack Showalter had blood on the walls of his house. It was all in the bathroom, his shower curtain, and then in the living room. It was his own, but it shows he was bleeding, which is, I mean, it shows a lot of things, in my opinion, all the stuff that they have on Showalter.
Okay. So, you guys woke up about that time. What woke you up at that point?
What woke us up?
Yeah, what's did you
Just
have?
woke up.
Okay.
I don't really know.
What'd you do at that point?
We were just hanging out in the living room,
Okay.
just talking.
So they were just hanging out in the living room. Now, he's talking about him and Josie, another friend, but it was at Emily's apartment. Emily and Hunter should have been there as well.
And then we were up till probably about almost 5.
Okay.
And then went back to bed.
And they were up till almost 5. Now, this is very close to 1122. It's really, really close.
And then we woke up in the morning. I said probably around 9. Maybe earlier, I'm not really sure. I didn't sleep much.
Yeah.
But, and then I came into the room.
Okay.
And, then I think, and, she sounded pretty scared. She said there was somebody in her house last night.
So he's talking about Dylan calling Emily.
They ran downstairs and locked themselves in a room because she saw somebody in her house.
This is the second person that said they ran downstairs and locked themselves in the room. Is that why Bethany's chip bag is in the living room? Because she was up there? That's the second person now that said they both ran downstairs, not just Dylan.
House, and she only sees nose in his chin or something like that.
Okay.
And then she was freaking out. She wanted us to go over there, so we got her stuff and went over there.
So you and Joe at the house didn't go to the same,
No.
right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They also didn't go to the right?
I don't think so. No.
So when was nine in the morning ish? When was the time before that you saw?
I was up with and Jack at 3.
So that you were hanging out with the girls at that point?
Yeah.
Was Hunter there?
Yeah, he was sleeping in the bed.
Okay.
Hunter was asleep in the bed, he says. What I find interesting about this is, wait a second, I thought Hunter got a really weird feeling and got up and went and locked the door. Well, why would you do that if you have a handful of people sitting in your living room that are still awake? You're locking them in? And none of those people said that Hunter got up and came and locked the door, like Hunter says.
Or he was at his apartment, I'm not sure. I remember.
He says Hunter was asleep. And then you just heard the pause, and then he said, or he was at his apartment, I'm not sure. So where was Hunter? Where was Hunter? And this is at 3-something in the morning. Where was Hunter? I thought Hunter was sleeping and got up and locked the door of Emily's apartment. That's not what he says, and he was there.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, Hunter said he got up about 4 a.m. and got an uneasy feeling, so he went and locked the door. Well, none of the people sitting in your living room at that time, he makes it sound like everybody was asleep, nobody was there. He might have heard a noise, got up and locked the door. No, there were people there sitting in the living room talking. None of them say that they saw Hunter get up and lock the door because Linden doesn't even know where Hunter was. He said he was either asleep in the bed or he was at his own apartment. So he didn't see Hunter at all. Well, then Hunter couldn't have gotten up and locked the door at that time.
And then obviously knows girls, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is talking about at Emily's apartment, if I'm not mistaken. Emily's apartment is right there across the like driveway parking lot thing from 1122. Yeah, good point. Mitten says, and didn't Josie go outside to get her phone at 3 a.m. and it was super foggy outside? Yep. My question just is, well, then where is Hunter? You know, the person that's holding a knife when the police walk in? The one who has Kaylee's blood on his fingers and transferring it to the pong table? That Hunter? Well, nobody said he got up and locked the door. Only he says that. But they didn't even know where he was at.
Is she part of that, or is she in a different sorority? Is she in a sorority right now?
Yeah.
She is. Okay.
Well, I think she might have dropped, but she's still technically, or maybe not technically.
Okay. Beth.
I'm not sure where Hunter lives, but Josie is the one. You see it on the 1112 camera, the one where we see the white car speeding away. It's the apartments to the left. Those like short blue ones with the big picture window kind, not big, but you know what I'm saying? The square picture windows. That's where Emily lives, I believe. And that's where he's talking about.
So you woke up, Emily and her were there. Acting normal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then and
In the morning.
And that was what time-ish?
Maybe around 10-ish.
Okay. And then you guys went over to the house. Did you all drive in the same car?
We walked,
Walked.
because it's really close.
Not that, yeah, that was my bad.
At 10? Did he just say he thought Emily got the call at 10?
Trying to kill the environment by driving. So what happens when you get to the house?
Ran out, or they were crying, walking out, and
They were crying walking out of the house. I thought it wasn't that big of a deal, Dylan. I thought you weren't scared of anything, Dylan. I thought nothing happens in Moscow, Dylan. So why are you walking out of the house crying if you think that your friend is just passed out on the floor from alcohol? Yeah, exactly.
got there before us.
Was he with you guys left that apartment at the same time, or?
Yeah, he went ahead of us.
Okay.
He was, I think, really concerned.
Gotcha.
Was Hunter really concerned so he ran ahead of everybody else? Or is there something more to that? Because if somebody called, the person that I was with, I would wait for that person because they're the ones who got the phone call. So why is Hunter hurrying up and running ahead of everybody else? Wouldn't you wait for the person that they actually called to come over?
And we got there, and I was inside, and everyone was crying, and I went into the downstairs door, but I didn't go up the stairs because I don't. It was up there too.
So he went into the downstairs door. I don't know if he's saying that, for prints or whatever, or if he actually did. I tend to believe that he did just kind of step inside, but I don't know. All this Hunter stuff is making him look like he's not being very honest.
He said, don't come up here if you don't want to see this.
Oh, and Beautifully Broken Woman says, plus Barry was outside of 1122 at 4 a.m. and he said he got an eerie feeling and rushed home. Did he speed off then? Because where the F is his car on the 1112 footage? Exactly. He said he drove by there. He was in that area and drove by there. At 4 a.m., he got an eerie feeling and quickly went home. But we don't see his car on the camera footage at all. So where is it? Edit it out?
Okay. How well do you know, did you know Ethan?
Not well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just know enough him, kind of thing, through the girls. Did
By the way, everything is alleged in our opinion only.
talk about Xana or Maggie or Kaylee? Maddie, sorry.
What do you mean?
Did she ever talk just about them having boyfriends, anything like that? Did she know Xana and...
Yeah.
So
no, they're really close friends.
right. So do you remember them talking about anything like boyfriends that are being assholes?
No.
Guys maybe at work that are being assholes, anything like that? Okay. Have you seen or heard anything on social media popping up?
No.
Okay.
My phone died.
Understood.
His phone died. How convenient. Not that I think he has anything to do with it, but everybody's phone's dead. Everybody's phone is lost. Everybody was sleeping. Nothing happens in Moscow. What the heck?
My camera's about to...
Oh, Anonymous says, Dylan knew they weren't. She texted someone saying, I think they killed them, as in plural, not one person. She knew they were dead. Let's be honest. I heard the same thing. But I heard it differently. I heard that Dylan said that to somebody that, and who, is it? I can't remember who she said it to and who repeated it, but apparently Dylan said to somebody else, I think they killed them. I heard that as well. Now, I don't have proof of that. I haven't seen any proof of that, but apparently that is what she said to somebody. Somebody that I think they killed them. Yes, Anonymous, I agree. I did hear that as well.
The same thing, so. Okay.
Thanks, Nadia.
Does any of the girls that you know have any kind of stalking history or anything like that from guys in the past?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I did hear Dylan say something about like a month.
Everyone's worried about dying batteries, not dying schoolmates. I mean, it's true, though. Literally, Dylan is looking a killer in the eyes, and she's texting Bethany, oh, shit, my phone's going to die. Wild.
There was like a guy stalking her or something like that. I think you might want to talk to her about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. Beautifully Broken Woman says, so why did all these kids in different places suddenly all feel strange and wake up suddenly? Dylan did, Hunter did, and obviously Bethany. But I thought there was David Baracoa, he did, or whatever his last name is, Barry. He said that there was an eerie feeling and there should be one more, but that's 5 different people at the exact same time. Or does everybody know something that we don't?
Anything else that I need to know that you can think of?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. And being 100 yards or ish away,
Ish.
did you hear anything? Did you hear anything? Fireworks?
No.
Backfires? Okay. All right.
Vampires? Is that what he just said?
Obviously, if you think of anything, let us know.
Did he say vampires or fireworks? I don't know, but this is a really good comment. Beautifully Broken says, yet Brian Koberger's phone turns off while he's supposedly far away from home in a place where cell coverage is often lost. Him turning off his phone or his phone being off means he's a murderer. But any of these students, their phones die or get left somewhere and whatever, they're all fine. They're not murderers. Only Brian Koberger.
I've been telling everybody that you guys have the crisis center on campus. My recommendation would be not to wait until you think you need it. As a cop, sees a lot of bad stuff throughout my career. I've learned that if I wait, usually it's too late. Take advantage of those. Go talk to somebody, even if it's just, hey, I'm not being able to sleep or whatever it is. Those things are huge as far as values to helping out. So don't think that you got to power through anything like this. If you have any kind of sleeplessness, lack of appetite, anything like that, go talk to somebody. All right. It's just not worth it to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go see if D's out there. You might check on her again. Anything else that I think I need?
That's Linden Beck. So, and also what's a little bit strange to me as well is him and Josie. So he's dating Josie, but they started talking outside of 1122 that day. Who finds love in the midst of everybody finding out that your friends were unalived horrifically? Weird. What was I gonna say? Oh, here it is. James says, in my opinion, if Mabbitt wasn't the coroner, Hudson's death would have been correctly addressed, and the boys would be doing time, and the 4 would never have passed. That's interesting, because I think Hudson's death raises a lot of questions to a lot of people as well, which is strange because we have so many events in that small little area, but yet every single person says nothing happens in Moscow. How? Yeah, I want to know. Yep. T. Kuhn says, give us the description of the width or depths of the wounds. Yeah, give us some information. You know what? Show me their clothing they had on. Just show me their clothes. Simply, I just want to see where the wounds are. I want to see what it looks like. Exactly. Pumpkin says those roommates knew they were not in danger. Never, ever. They asked those detectives if they should be scared for their lives. Nope. Literally, Bethany was more worried about going home for Thanksgiving. That's the first thing she said. All right. So I want to read this to you real quick. This is an affidavit from that Syray filed. And this is the response to, oops. This is the response to the state's motion in limine number 2 regarding vague and undisclosed expert testimony filed with the court. And their reply. So, Syray says that he viewed reviewed the motion in limine 2, vague and undisclosed expert testimony. He's reviewed the state's response in reference to the motion. And he wants to address the matter of FBI Special Agent Nicholas Ballance's anticipated testimony in this affidavit and what has not been disclosed by Nick Ballance. He's reviewed the initial reports, the final reports, the first disclosure, second disclosure, and now third disclosure. Despite this progression of disclosure, Nick Ballance's opinion on the relevant issues at hand still have not been disclosed. I have reviewed disclosures in reference to Nick Ballance's interpretations and opinions relating to the AT&T call detail records. They are vague and at times contradictory. At this time, I'm unable to identify his methodologies and or resulting opinions on most of his work, preventing me from any real analysis to determine the basis of his opinion. So Cy Ray is saying that Nick Ballance, who is the FBI special agent, Nick Ballance did the cast report to figure out where Brian Koberger's phone was at certain times. But when asked for the information, Nick Ballance, how did you come to this conclusion? And how did you get this map? And, where did it come from? Did you make it? What's going on here? I need more information. We need to know how you got this to this point, Nick Ballance. And Nick Ballance can't give it to him. Cy Ray says that he contradicts himself, and at times it's very vague. He also says that the AT&T cell detail records are conflicting and void of substance. His work does not contain his methodology. He does not mention AT&T's handoff data, any drive test mapping, or any other critical methodology required in this analysis. Basically saying Nick Ballance took a pen, put a circle, put another circle, and drew a line. That's about as much information that they have. And Nick Ballance will not give the information of how he came to this conclusion. Now, Cy Ray, who is very, very decorated in his career, who would never risk his career for something like this, Cy Ray says, I regularly work as a subject matter expert, and it is standard in my field for experts' opinions to be well documented and based on accept best practice or methodology. The facts and data relied upon to each an opinion are known and disclosed. Nick Ballance's work is a departure from the field standard. Like he's not even, Cy Ray is saying Nick Ballance isn't even following like basic cell phone investigating 101, like the very basics. He's not even doing that. He has not disclosed his methodology and analysis for his opinion. This is partially due to contradicting methodologies that have been disclosed, meaning he's saying one thing and then turning around and Nick Ballance is saying another thing when it comes to Brian Koberger's phone, either when it was shut off or the route of travel. I mean, this is huge. This was a huge piece of the prosecution's evidence, was the fact that they say Brian Koberger turned his phone off before the unalivings and then turn it back on afterwards, but put him, way further out like he was just going on drives, when it's very possible that he was on a drive and his phone went out due to lack of cell service. But Cy Ray is calling out Nick Ballance saying, give me the information. How did you get to this point? Give me anything. And Nick Ballance won't do it. Yes, Cy Ray has been working with Homeland Security and training cops about the plea agreement. No, but he does train cops. Cy Ray does train cops. Like he's a very decorated person in his career. So Cy Ray says the information that Nick Ballance is giving you guys contradicts his own information that he's giving you guys. Like one report says something and another report says something different. It can't be both. He says it's also very vague. You know, when you're doing a cast report for cell phone data analysis, you need to, not only do you need to be detailed, but you have to be detailed, and you will be detailed, because that's how it is with this report. It's very detailed, and you're just taking that information and plugging it in to get your little map and stuff. Like, it's impossible to not give detail, but the fact that he is very vague stands out to Cyree. He says this is partially due to changes that evolved through iterations of work product without explanation and documented by facts and data as a basis. So nothing was documented. He also says, I did note that Nick Ballance has a dual role in this case. He's an expert witness for the state, and using these same skills, he was involved in the actual investigation from the onset. He was co-located with investigators throughout the investigation. His opinions and interpretations were relied on by investigators and prosecutors. These interpretations and opinions found their way into every probable cause statement supporting each warrant against the defendant. He is referenced in nearly every search warrant issued. His opinions and interpretations were an integral piece of building probable cause against Bryan Kohberger. So Cyree is basically saying that's bullcrap. You did this cast report and, whatever with the cell phone and all of that, but you didn't give any detail of what you found. You didn't tell us how you found it, why you found it, where you found it, anything, nothing, no details, super vague, but yet it was used. Like, he didn't even follow standard operating procedure when it comes to getting AT&T cell phone data and putting it in a report. Now, this is what they're using to convict Bryan Kohberger, to say, aha, we got your location even though your phone was off, in a sense. Cyree is saying, absolutely not. And you used all of that to arrest Bryan Kohberger in the first place? What the actual heck? No way. Cyree is basically saying there's no way he could have used this information in every single warrant and got it approved, because it's too vague. It contradicts himself. Unfortunately, most of his opinions and interpretations provided to investigators and prosecutors are not supported by the evidence in this case. He's literally saying the evidence does not match what Nick Ballance is telling you. And then to back it up, Nick Ballance can't even give you details on how he got this information. How was there even a warrant that was signed? He says, it is this very reason I'm awaiting Ballance's report detailing the facts, data, methodology, and analysis relied on to make such egregious errors. I expect to see work that explain the conclusions, as well as properly addressing omitted analysis and errors in work. He's saying he purposely left stuff out. Nick Ballance purposely left out information when it comes to the AT&T records for Bryan Kohberger's phone. The omitted work, which means the work that was left out in this case, is exculpatory to Mr. Kohberger. All right, so it goes in to say that Nick Ballance intentionally left out information. How can an FBI agent intentionally leave out information? Won't detail their reports, won't give you a report, won't show you how they got Bryan Kohberger's route of travel from his phone, but yet you want to use it in every PCA, or in the PCA, every search warrant, and to then convict him as a piece of evidence in court? No possible way. He says Ballance did not include an analysis of the AT&T handoff data provided by AT&T for the defendant's mobile device between the hours of 2:30 and 3 a.m. The handoff data in the defendant's records during this time is exculpatory to the defendant, which tells me they have his location. It's just not where it's not where Nick Ballance is saying that it is. Ballance did not include an analysis of AT&T data regarding 23 time periods in his report that he appears to be suggesting Bryan Kohberger was at or very near the crime scene. So Cy Ray is saying, Cy Ray is saying that the prosecution is telling everybody Bryan Kohberger pinged near 1122 23 different times. And remember how I said, well, 16 of those he was going to target because we have the records. Cy Ray is saying, you guys just said that. You didn't give us any proof that he drove by there or was in that area at all. Nick Ballance is just saying it was 23 times without any proof. Basically, he's saying it's difficult to determine the process or the method or anything that Nick Ballance relied on to suggest the connection for several reasons, because AT&T records do not support that statement. So they have the records, Bryan Kohberger's records. Cy Ray had Bryan Kohberger's records, and he's flat out saying, this does not support what Ballance is saying, which is a huge piece of evidence that was going to be brought to court. No proof of it, though. There's no report or analysis detailing Bryan Kohberger's movements between June and December, which would be needed to surmise the defendant's phone was at or near the crime scene 23 times prior to the homicide. There's no mapping showing the network connections relied upon. There are no drive test coverage maps of the other one. Oh, no drive test cover maps other than the one cellular site. There's a lot more, well, not a lot more, a little bit more, but I found that really interesting that Cy Ray is saying, bull crap. Nick Ballance is giving you this little bit of information. It doesn't have any proof whatsoever that Bryan Kohberger was near the house 23 times or that his phone was even turned off by him, or that the locations that they're saying, that route they're saying Bryan Kohberger took after the unalivings, there's no proof of that. Nick Ballance will not provide proof of his work that that's what happened at all. It's just once again, a big piece of evidence they're trying, which was used, I think, to coerce Bryan or whatever, but it was going to be used in court. This is a big piece of evidence, Bryan Kohberger's cell phone location, but yet Cy Ray is saying they're not even providing proof of it. So how could that ever be used as evidence? So literally, the only piece of evidence they would have had is one tiny skin cell. That would have been it, which is still less than a secondary transfer amount of DNA. It's just wild. This is wild. This literally knocks out that whole thing where FBI is saying that Bryan Kohberger took that route after the unalivings. This Cy Ray is saying, no, the F it didn't. No, it didn't. Number one, you can't prove to me. You're not giving me anything that says it did. And number two, we have the AT&T records, and what I look at says that's not true at all. So yeah, I found that very interesting. That Cy Ray was going to go to war. Cy Ray was ready. What else? I think that's it. I'm working on, there is a set of brake lights that I see in the 1112 camera footage, and it's driving me nuts because it is attached, I believe, in some way, shape, or form to that white car, but I'm trying to get it perfectly, to explain it perfectly. So I'm working on a set of brake lights, but it doesn't make sense where they come from because we would have seen the headlights before and we don't. It's almost like the white car that they want to claim as Brian Koberger's was sitting on that side area where other cars were parked the whole time because there's no headlights that show him driving in there and turning around. It's very strange. I'm working on it. Thank you, Bethune. I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks, Bianca. Well, gifted. I appreciate you. You know, that's a really good question. Do you guys think Ann Taylor did right by her client? Um, you know, I really, in the moment, I thought she was doing a good job. But now a lot of the stuff I see, I'm like, well, you could have done this, you could have done that. I feel like there's several things that could have been done, but I'm not in her shoes. And the stuff that she had been working on, she had to beg over and over and over, give me all that information. Just give me all of it. And they'd give her a piece of it. So she's spending so much time probably just waiting on pieces of evidence. And they're not giving it to her. So they're wasting her time. I bet she spent a lot of time just waiting on them to respond to her request. And then they wouldn't send it, or they would send a snippet or half of the evidence, or she wasn't prepared because they wouldn't give her anything. So there's no way she could defend her client. In the moment, I thought she did a good job. But some of the stuff I read, I'm like, well, why didn't you do this or that? Or so who knows? I don't know. The thing that I always keep in the back of my mind is Ann Taylor is a public defender. So her office is probably very close to where the prosecutor's office is. You know, they work hand in hand a lot of times. It's not like they hate each other. So I just keep that in the back of my mind too. I don't remember that, Whitney. The FBI agent Winters, Alex Winters, that did the rounds earlier this year, said he assisted the FBI a bit in this case. Does anyone remember that? It was after this release of Cy Ray's testimony. I don't remember that. Bethune says Stonewall Hippler. And Hippler was just on the side of the prosecution. Whatever the prosecution needed, that's what he was going to do. I will never, ever forget him saying, DNA is DNA every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Oh, no matter what Ann Taylor did, she didn't stand a chance being able to fully defend her client, period. The prosecution wouldn't give her the evidence, and the judge was doing nothing about it. And he was letting that game continue over and over and over, knowing that she didn't have enough time to go through it when she finally got a couple of bits of information. She didn't stand a chance defending him. Yeah, I mean, exactly, Fizzy. Fizzy says she did as much as she could with a hand tied behind her back. That's a perfect way to describe it. I mean, yeah, I do think she was doing a good job for what she was given, which was pretty much nothing. And she continued to ask. And then when there was a leak, she asked for more time because a leak is very detrimental to a case. But they wouldn't give her extra time, not even 30 days. They purposely did that. They purposely were not handing over information that she needed to defend her client, so she ran out of time, so she couldn't defend him. So was there 74 FBI agents involved? I heard that there was somewhere between 60 and 70 in town. I don't know if it was specifically for the IDAHO4 case. They were in town for that whole rug ring takedown thing, but I don't know the exact number, but it could very well be 74. It could be. I remember seeing a number. I just don't remember what the number was, but I do remember somewhere in the likes of 60 to 70 FBI in town. So, Love says, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill Thompson has not secured a trial conviction in years, if ever, right? I don't think he has. I want to say they're all pleas. I could be wrong as well, but I thought they were all pleas. I don't know if he has a conviction from an actual trial. Hemisphere says, in my opinion, Hippler was going to make it very hard on Ann Taylor to defend Brian because, in my opinion, Hippler was there to control the narrative, make sure the case ends in a conviction or a plea deal. I 1,000% agree with that. 1,000%. I think it was either purposeful or very convenient that this case landed in Hippler's lap to allow him to side with the prosecution and make it difficult for the defense to defend their client. He was on that case for a reason. So it followed the narrative because no judge in the world is going to call a expert defense witness a conspiracy theorist and then deny Ann Taylor of getting the documents that she needs or the time that she needs to review them. There's no way. And then the fact that he didn't have any control of his courtroom whatsoever. Who claps? Stop it. No, I agree with you. It's like Bill Thompson knew that if the case was with Hippler, he just washed his hands of it. He didn't need to gather more evidence. He didn't need to do any more work after he knew Hippler was on the case. He was golden. Wouldn't the knife with Kaylee's blood on it be exculpatory evidence? You would think so, right? You would think so, because how is that Kaylee's blood if Kaylee wasn't on the second floor and Hunter never went to the third floor? That I would think that would be exculpatory evidence for Brian Koberger. How did Kaylee's blood get there then? Yeah. Over 60 terabytes of discovery. That is literally unheard of. I'm hoping something happens with this case. I really am hoping that some way, somehow we can get a trial. We need a trial. I think the world deserves a trial. Because honestly, I think everybody should have the right to defend themselves. And in this case, I think that Brian Koberger, had it gone to trial, I don't think we would. I take that back. Had it gone to trial normally, like in a normal case with a normal judge, just doing his job, I think he would have walked. With the characters we have in this case, no, absolutely not. If he went to trial, every juror could find him not guilty and Hippler would still send him to jail for the rest of his life. That's just how it was. Hippler was just on the side of the prosecution and blocked the defense every time they tried to breathe. Oh yeah. In my opinion, Hippler's the reason why this ended in a plea deal. It's between Hippler and the prosecution. Yep. And I think, lots of guilters will say, well, Brian Kohlberger confessed. He said he did it. No, he didn't. He said yes to the question, are you responsible for this? Which I guess if you want to call that saying he did it, he didn't necessarily say, yes, I did this. Here's the weapon. This is what I did. This is what time. This is what I wore. None of that. But he also had to say that. He had to agree to what Judge Hippler was saying in order to get his plea deal and take the death penalty off the table. He had to. He didn't have a choice. You can't say, no, I'm not guilty, but still want the death penalty taken off the table and get 4 life sentences instead. He had to agree to that. So I don't necessarily count that as a confession, in my opinion. It's just him agreeing to what he had to agree to. Court is very black and white, but real life, there's a lot of gray area, is how I like to explain it. Yeah, Brian Kohlberger is having a hard time inside. I wonder if he's questioning his actions or his choices. I wonder if he's questioning it now. Thank you, Hemisphere. I appreciate you. I'm glad you found us. Yeah, post-conviction relief is always an option, even if an uphill battle, but the record made by the defense is robust enough to where post-conviction relief is inevitable. Yep. Don't you guys think it's funny that we still don't have an answer on the leak? I think that's funny. Like, interesting funny. Like, okay. Because you would think that would be the easiest thing to find out who was leaking information. It's not that difficult. Take their phones. It's not that difficult. And then for the FBI to say, oh, you can only use this information as a tip, which means it can't be argued in court because it's a tip and not something somebody did or said. Yeah. Wild. Oh, and I'm not sure if any of you heard, but Lana had a video, I want to say it was either today or yesterday, and she says she's suing Moscow for all the redactions and things like that. So I hope she does. I really do hope she does, because when have you ever seen in any other case where they blur out grown adults' faces that aren't being interrogated? It's just an interview. They should have been interrogated, but it was just an interview, and they blur out their faces. It's the redactions in this case are wild, especially the fact that the gag order's lifted. What do you need all those redactions for? Steve said prosecutors were leaking fake information. Well, he was too. He was telling fake information too. I was listening to something the other day. I can't remember what it was, but somebody made a really good comment, because we see flashlights outside all over on different cameras, right? At different times, we see flashlights. Molly had a flashlight. There were, we see what college kids, that many of them, are walking around at the same time of night within a couple hours of each other with flashlights. Like, think about that. Who's just walking around as a college student with flashlights? Kind of weird. If you go back and look at all the different footage and all the flashlights you see, it's strange. It's like, why do all these college kids have flashlights and they're walking around with flashlights. I don't know. It's just weird. Oh, yeah, there's definitely they didn't do an investigation. I knew as soon as he said we're gonna do an investigation on the leaks, in my brain, I was like, "No, you're not. You're gonna hope everybody forgets about it and close it. That's what you're gonna do." Yeah, that's crazy, Tattoo Gal says, and the Corner Club videos, every single person is blurred out except for Kaylee and Maddie. That's a lot of redacting. For what? For what? Yep. Mandy says the girl on the train, there's a video of the young girl on the train getting stabbed on the train, and she was stabbed very close to where the Idaho 4 people were stabbed, except for Maddie, except for Maddie. Um, and there's so much red fluid on the train, so much, way more than all the red fluid in this case from 4 people put together. There was more blood on that train. I do. It says, Bronx, do you think there's a chance the Linda Lane footage we have seen might be different to what the lawyers received? I would like someone to FOIA it, but doubt anyone will. Which Linda Lane do you want? You want 1320 or 1330? Because I'll put in a FOIA tomorrow or tonight. I just put one in the other day for something else. I do think it's different. I think all the footage has been manipulated in some way. Um, yeah, I do think it's different. I mean, when you have a vehicle backing up on footage and the vehicle changes shape into another vehicle, I mean, from an SUV to an actual truck or van or car, it's manipulated. Yeah. And then I don't think that we already know that Ann Taylor was asking for video footage of 1112, and she had to wait for it, and when they finally gave it to her, they gave her a small snippet of it with no audio. What I find interesting as well is I was looking into Murphy barking and stuff when I was looking into this whole taillight thing that I am digging into. So I'm digging into this taillight thing. It's around the time that Murphy's barking when when the white car speeds away, goes around the corner and then goes up the street. There's no Murphy barking in there. None. Murphy is barking before that, then that happens, and then Murphy's barking after that. I feel like the audio in that is manipulated. And that's why you can't hear Murphy's bark. Let's see. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. The heavy redaction in Moscow's way to make sure the narrative does not change, and eventually people will lose interest in the case. I think a lot of people need to file a lawsuit. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Connor FOIA'd it? Okay. I'll still FOIA it. They're not going to give me anything. I already know. They just deny me for everything or tell me it's $1 million. And it doesn't make sense. Oh, I would still give anything to get the water usage. Yeah, exactly. We know if the body cams are screwed, with, then I have no hope that any other footage is legit. Absolutely. And we know for a fact that at least one body cam is off because we hear 4 church bells ringing. The church is saying it's 4 o'clock, but on the body cam, it's saying 3 o'clock. At least one. So how do we know? How do we know whose body cam is correct and on time and who is not? How do we know what video we're looking at is correct and on time and not? We don't. We don't even know that much. Which is wild because they would have used all of this stuff in court to convict him. And we don't even know what the exact time is. It does not make sense. I want to see the victim's phone analysis. I want to see what time somebody went upstairs. I want to see the picture of the DoorDash being left at the door. I just find it so strange that you have rugs in the house, clearly left out on the table. You have rugs in the house. You have a known rug user and dealer pull up to the house, and then somebody pulls up right after them. And you don't even look at the first car of the person that is bringing the DoorDash, which could have been rugs. You from day one, you never looked into that first car. Why only the second car? There's 3 cars around the same time. Why are you only digging into the second car when there could be a drug connection here? Because you have drugs in the house and you have a person who does and sells drugs pull up at the exact time that you guys say this crime happened, but yet you don't look into that? That's wild. Yeah, that would show proof of life. Absolutely. Um it just yeah. Just having the picture by itself, just alone, the picture of the DoorDash that was dropped off at the door, show us that picture. I bet you anything you don't have one. I bet anything there isn't one. That's a good idea, Fizzy. Jules was saying everyone should try to get together and find out who's paying what for a possible class action. Yep. Because, like, they give us the, let's say, corner club footage, right? They have to, go, they don't have to, but they do. They go and redact every person's face except for the victims. Well, they only have to do that one time, but you're charging 100 people $1 million when you only had to do it one time. I want to see like how many hours you're billing for. I want to, you know what I'm saying? I want to see their work as far as these redactions go. Oh, really? That's interesting. Central Florida Freedom says Devil's Advocate traveled to Moscow and took a lot of video. The church bell was 1 hour ahead while he was there. He specifically was looking for that. Well, if that's true, then wouldn't it make other videos off? I'll have to look. I'll have to look into that. Fizzy says, when you file the FOIA, do you have to pay when you send it, or do you only do anything with money when they give you an estimate? Only when they give you an estimate. Because a lot of things they'll deny. It seems like they're denying a lot of people, or the redactions are just so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I bet they're taking naps while redacting. The redactions are just wild. We'll never get a picture of the DoorDash. We'll never get a picture of the sheath on the bed. I want that. Blur out everything. Just show me where the sheath was located. Or, I don't know, draw a picture of it to show us where the sheath was located. I want to see, because Some of this blood pattern is not matching. It's not matching. Oh, okay, Fizzy. Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. Nobody, if Dylan was awake, if Bethany was awake, they were still on the second floor. How come nobody knows when Xana or Ethan got there? Still, nobody does. And nobody else says anything about a food order, about DoorDash. Nobody. But yeah, I was looking at the 1112 footage and I keep seeing these tail lights in a window. But for us to see those tail lights in the window, we would have had to seen headlights first for them to turn around and get the tail lights in the window, right? But we don't see that. So I'm questioning which car is actually driving away. Or the video footage was manipulated because we never see that car come in and park there for us to then later see their taillights when they leave. It's very strange. I'm going to be looking into that though. Yeah, Sydney says, what about the black truck that Dylan saw out of the window? Is that on any camera? Exactly. And if you think somebody's in your house and all these, you see somebody, why are you looking out the window with all the lights on? They can see you. I think they got Brian's Amazon records before they put the sheath in the working document. They can't keep their dates right. That's not surprising at all to me. I do think there's something with that Amazon order that the police did by purchasing the exact same sheath and K-bar that they think happened. Just because you find a sheath doesn't mean that's necessarily the weapon. I also want to know what weapon was hitting Kaylee in the face to give her striped wounds on her face. I mean, because there are some golf clubs that have stripes as well, and we know that there were golf clubs there. I don't know. I found it interesting that there was bloody hair that was hitting against the wall or was dragged against the wall at some point from Xana either fighting or being moved. If that's Xana's blood in that corner, I don't know how she made it onto the rug unless she was moved. I have no idea. There was trace evidence collected from Ethan's hand. It just doesn't say what it is. I want to know, did they put Ethan's socks in the dryer to dry? Was Ethan's socks part of that? Because if his socks weren't part of that, which I'm going to have to go back and look because I don't remember all the items that were put in the dryer, or even if they gave us a detailed itemized list of what was put in the dryer. But Ethan's socks should have been super covered, right? That's the only thing he had on. Wouldn't you think that would be covered? It's wild, Sydney. I believe Dylan's original description of the mask with the lower nose, mouth, and chin visible. That's after seeing one, that is. I don't know. So in one report, one of the officers says it's a ski mask, with the eyes. Another report says it's a balaclava, so just here. And then Linden says they said you could see his nose and chin or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. With the leg wound, I would think that Ethan's socks would be just covered in blood. So they would have needed to go into the dryer. I'm going to have to look to see if they did go into the dryer or if they were just collected. I'm very curious on that. Why was Ethan the only one with no clothes on? I'm curious of that too. I feel like his shirt is at the end of the bed and his pants are in the bathroom. But yeah, no kidding. Not one thing makes sense. Oh, interesting. Hemisphere says there's nothing about the steak knife in the ISP documents. I don't understand how we don't have an appeal at this point. I mean, with all this information, this is ridiculous. And before anybody gets their panties in a bunch, no, nobody wants to marry Brian Koberger. It's not about Brian Koberger. It's about the evidence and that it doesn't say that Brian Koberger did this or did this alone. I lean towards that he didn't do this. But this isn't about Brian Koberger. This is about the evidence. And had the investigators just followed the evidence, we would not be where we are today. If this wasn't corrupt, if this wasn't, you know, on puppet strings by the university, it would be completely different outcome. That's what everybody cares about, is the truth and getting actual real justice for the victims by getting the truth. Well, I also want to know, that's a good point. So how did Dylan see both just the eye and nose and what this person in black had in their hand with the perp just walking by? See, what's crazy to me is I used to picture her seeing somebody in the dark, but I don't understand now how she can't explain what she saw when all the damn lights were on. What the heck did you see? What was it? Describe it. Draw it out for me. Color it. Put stickers on it. I don't care what you have to do, but you saw it. All of the lights were on, all of them. Yeah, Ethan was attacked for sure, but I do think, I don't know. Ethan has defensive wounds. All of them have defensive wounds. They say Maddie was asleep, completely asleep, and never woke up, but she has defensive wounds on her hands. So that's a flat out lie. Yeah, DM says she was out of it. She uses that or being drunk for every excuse. I don't know. I was out of it. Well, you just said that you jumped up and locked your door, so you're not that out of it. All right, guys, we're at almost 2 hours. I'm going to go ahead and hop off for the evening. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for being here. I wanted to see real quick. Oh, that's not going to tell me. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I'm just talking to myself. Sorry. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, mods. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, Bianca and On Top X and well, that's crazy because it doesn't give me the option. Huh. Interesting. All right. Thanks, everybody. Do something nice for yourself. Be kind, but more importantly, be kind to your animals. I'll see you guys Wednesday.